Hi, welcome to Only Seniors. I'm your host, Tom Callahan. Our show tonight's going to take a little bit of a different route. We're going to talk about hair. Yes, we're going to talk about hair, specifically going silver. My guest tonight is Dana Lichstrahl, and she has a new website called 50 Shades of Silver. Dana, welcome.
Thank you. I'm delighted to be here and talk about this subject.
We actually met at a board meeting here in Princeton, and we complimented each other's hair color. And lo and behold, it started this whole conversation around us on going gray. The more we talked about it, the more people became involved and started questioning us. So we decided that we were going to get together and put this onto a show. So, tell me, what was the impetus for you to stop coloring your hair, if you did color your hair, and let your hair go gray, or silver in this case?
Great question. Well, about 10 years ago, I have two sons. They're 22 and 28 now. So about 10 years ago, when my younger son was in middle school, and my hair was spotting with patches of gray here and there, and I was still coloring, I said to him one night while we're in bed hanging out before he was going to sleep, "What do you think if I stop coloring my hair?" And he responds, "Mom, can you wait until I'm out of high school?" And we laughed about that, and I continued to color because I knew that a story was there that meant something. And my hairstylist, who is still my hairstylist now, said to me, "You know, you're not completely gray. Why don't you wait?" And then in 2012, in September, one morning I was due to have my hair colored. I had just a little bit of growth, and I was having coffee, and I opened a More magazine, and there was a winner of a contest, this most stunning woman, just a sort of coffee-colored skin with short white hair, and it told her name, her age, and a little bit about her. And her age was the same as mine. And she was so stunning. And I ripped out the page, and I run over to Sam, who works at Salon Pure downtown here. And I say, "Sam, can I do it now?" And she said yes. And I walked out of the salon, and that was it for me. So I had had a lot of growth in the back and a little bit of growth in the front, and it took about a full year. As a matter of fact, I brought some pictures.
Okay.
So I want you to see that this is what it's looking like growing out, right? So I would walk around town like this, right? Or here's another picture. You can sort of, it almost looks like I've purposefully dipped my hair in this reddish color, which many of the younger generation asked me. It was really the younger generation who I found a lot of support from when going through this process, which took about a year. And then I finally cut it short. So this is a picture of it one style, and then I let it grow into another style. So it's been about a year and a half.
Okay. Now, what was your son's reaction when you came home from the hairstylist?
Without
having had it colored?
They were like, right on. They're like, great, great. And that was really helpful because I found that the older adults in my community, in my family, had a different story about it. You know, when they saw the growth and they said, "What are you doing?" And I would say, "What do you mean what I'm doing? I'm growing out my color because I just want to be natural, and I want to connect with that. You know, I'm not feeling like my color is who I really am." And then I'd get this sort of like head shake, like, "Honey, you are not doing a good thing." Because in the older group, and I would say 60s and older, or 65 and older, even 70s and older, that group has known that women don't go silver. You know, that sends a message of old, maybe no value, or, you know, it doesn't...
Just gave up. Yeah.
You didn't do that, you know, and I think many people that were older in my family were afraid that maybe I would stop getting work or projects. I'm a communications consultant,
Mhm.
you know, and so they were, you know, it was the wrong thing. So I had this older generation saying it was the wrong thing, and then this younger generation going, wow, that looks so cool. And I was like, what is going on here? Because the stories were so different.
Now, from the older generation, was it coming more from the men or from the women, or equal?
That's a really good question. More from the men, I think. The women, for instance, my mother still colors, you know, so she's still here and coloring, and you know, she would never think of not coloring because her generation just wouldn't do that.
Mm-hmm.
So I think when it came to the older ones, yes, it was primarily the men. And, you know, even men my age, some people were liking it, some weren't. I was dating a guy at the time. He didn't really like it at all, so that didn't last too well.
Well, I'm keeping my hair, you can go away, right?
So, you know, it's really about changing the story because the story is so deep that silver or white or 50 Shades is not what you want to be, you know. When we live so much longer and we're so much more vital, you know, now in our 50s than any generation has ever been. So I want to change that story. I had women coming up to me in the grocery store, you know, oh, I wish I could do that. And they were my age. Oh, I wish I could do that, you know. I can't do that. And I was like, wow. Oh, it would never look like yours. Of course it wouldn't look like mine. It would look like yours. It would look beautiful, you know. And I happen to think that a great cut is, you know, is sort of an integral part of changing the story about the color.
Now, what about friends your age? What was the reaction from your peers?
My women peers?
Your women.
My
Let's go with the
women?
women peers, and we already know that one man didn't like it, so the heck with him.
Well, you know, I think some of them would like to, but they're afraid of the story that they've been told for 50 plus years, you know, almost 60 years. So I think they would.
Now, it was interesting. You said you talked to your son first, and you asked him. And then you talked to your spouse, and you asked her. It's like you were asking for permission. What, now that you've transitioned, as they say, how do you look back on that? Do you wish you had done it sooner?
Well, you know,
or?
it's interesting, Tom, because when I had enough growth of the white-ish, silverish, whatever, to the red, and I was in that chair at the salon, and Samantha had just cut off all the red, I burst into tears.
Really?
Yes. And one of the things that happened, like, the year before, or maybe it took around 10 months, you know, it was from that October to that May, so it wasn't even a year before I got my red completely cut out. When I had left the salon that October, I said, isn't there something you can do? Isn't there a hair color product or something you can do to just take the red out and just do this now so I don't have to wait and grow this out? And one of the ladies there at the salon, her name was Ashley, she looked at me and she said, young, brilliant stylist, she looked at me and said, you don't want to do it that quick. You don't want to do it that quick. It's not like, you know, you're red and you're changing it to pink or something. That's sort of like a playful, you know, she said, you don't want to do it that quick. And when I did get it all cut off and sat in the chair and burst out crying, I had a moment of, oh my God, I need to color this. I need to put back on the color, you know? It was strange to me.
It was like a panic?
It was, I didn't know myself that way, you know, with a completely, I was sort of this dark reddish auburn, and I didn't know myself with light hair. It was a real identity switch. So I was glad that there was time for me to see myself.
To process it.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, the day after you had all that cut out, what was your reaction?
You mean to myself, or
To your-
reaction from other people?
To yourself and then also from other people.
It took time for me to get into this new appearance. It did take time.
What changed? Did you find yourself dressing differently, acting differently? What?
That's great, because one of the most wonderful things I found out was I never wore red. I never really wore red. I started to
'Cause you
wear
always
red
saw-
when the whites started to come. This was like one of my first red t-shirts during the process, because I just didn't, there were colors that I didn't feel I could wear. And so I'm wearing, the vibrant purples or the silvers or the reds, oranges, things that would, even pinks, which I just wasn't a pink person. But at the same time, I too had been filled with these stories that this symbolizes too old, or just old, period, and old is not good. So there was some time that I needed to grow into my new coat.
What was the effect on your professional life? What was the reaction there?
Well, a funny thing happened on the way to the forum. I was at a networking, besides doing communication work, I was doing social media, writing content. I still am. I was at a networking breakfast, and this wonderful woman, tall, stunning, salt and pepper hair woman, I walked over to her and I said, and my hair was sort of half and half. I said, you can see you're such an inspiration. I'm trying to do just this, and you're so stunning, and oh my God. And she said, well, I do some modeling, and when you have it completely out, email me. And she gave me her card. And it started a delightful friendship with this woman. And since that time, which has been since December of 2013, last December, I now am hooked up with 2 modeling agencies. So now I've done 2 videos, and they're sending me, I just visited QVC because they needed women with silver hair that looked, good, or, that were older looking. And so the silver hair has gotten me from behind the camera to in front
of the camera.
which is
Oh,
why
how
I'm here.
funny.
Which
That's
is
wonderful.
Isn't that funny? Yeah.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
I started going silver about 11 years ago, and I used to hide my gray as well. And George has a picture, which our producer has a picture, which he'll put up, which was taken 25 years ago. People think I'm blonde, and I'm like, no, I was auburn-colored hair growing up. And what I found was once I started letting the silver come in, and once it was completely in, people would start listening to me. My clients suddenly didn't poo-poo what I was saying. They actually listened to me, and it was one of those things of, I'd be speaking and be like, beforehand, but now it's suddenly like, oh, really? And I noticed that transition as well. I started embracing it, and then lo and behold, Anderson Cooper came into style and stole my thunder.
I think that, yeah.
It's, some people have said to me, it's like, why aren't you coloring it in, or why aren't you just, hiding it a little bit? And I'm like, it got to be too much and just too boring. I didn't like it at first because I was getting what I call the Professor Gray, where it was coming in just right here.
Oh.
And I was like, no, don't like that. And once it came in fully, there was that transition period too, where it had to grow out. And
Yeah.
I've noticed my hair's now, like, it's got black in it too, which was never, I guess it was there before, but now it shows up a lot more.
Right. But you know what? That's what we do. I mean, as humans, we are transitioning. We morph our whole life. I mean, everything changes, from the way our teeth sit in our mouth, to the way everything hangs. So I think that it would be wonderful if we really started celebrating all the different changes and not make them into something that's limited. I think when we limit and say, with this color, this person is only going to be able to do this much, then we've really screwed up the possibilities of, great experiences and great fun.
You have friends who obviously maybe color their hair still.
I have both.
Okay. The friends who still color their hair, what is their reaction to it?
Well,
Do they secretly wish they could do it?
yes, I think they do. I think that the fear of it not looking right, let's say letting it grow out, or maybe they go the route of having it stripped out, or I don't know what that process is, but I hear it's not that good for your hair. But, the length of time that it might take and what it might look like, and I think there's a lot of fear in there, and
Do you think people are looking for the permission to do it?
yes, absolutely. That's why I've started this website called 50shadesofsilver.com, which is not up yet, but it will be up, because I want it to be a place where people can have this discussion and change this story and show pictures and really delight in how our body changes. And, our visuals, such a strong influence on our experience here, just like sound or smell or taste, but our visuals are very strong if we have that ability. And yet we have all these interpretations and beliefs attached to the meanings of what someone looks like when they have this color skin or that color hair, or they're this height or this height. And we're right in the wonderful process, I think, of really changing those stories, because I don't think the younger generation, my sons, are going to tolerate these stories anymore because they're too confining.
I found it was very empowering to do it. I guess because people actually started listening to me.
Wow.
I found a lot of gratification and a lot of power in it, and I was like, well, okay, I do know what I'm talking about. And I think that was, and friends of mine have said, like, you're brave, and I'm like, I'm not brave. I'm just not spending not spending that much money at the salon anymore to get my hair cut and colored. And I also, the woman who cuts my hair, I went to her and I talked to her about it as well, and she's like, hey, here's what we can do. And she had a lot of suggestions to bring in as well. She's like, we could even put blonde into it. And I'm like, no, I'm not ready to do that. But
I know they get very creative.
They get very
Sam was
creative.
saying to me, well, we can put low lights in it. And I wasn't even sure what low lights were, but they were
I
the
was-
darker.
Yeah, I was like, well, I don't know.
I was like, when I stop, I don't really want to stop. I don't want to keep coming back for maintenance. Just cut it, give it a good cut.
So tell me more about this website, 50shadesofsilver.com.
Okay, so it's not up yet, or if you open it up, which is 50shadesofsilver.com, using the numbers, you'll see just a sort of a reflective photo slide there, but there's not much content. As a matter of fact, I'd love for our viewers that are watching here to send content if they like, to become a part of it, to build the site, to change the story.
And what type of content are you looking for?
It could be videos, it could be, when we get it up and running, you could write blog, posts. We're still sort of figuring that out. And if you want to participate in the figuring of it out, you could send me an email to info@danalichstrahl.com. And I think they're going to show it up on the screen.
We're going to get that
so
up on the screen so that
you'll
people
know how
can
to
get
spell
to
it.
you.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah, come and play on that site. We'll have everybody going silver. And believe me, I'm all for hair coloring. I think that though when you've come to a point where you just don't want to anymore, that should be stepping into a place of like glory and delight as well. Because it was fun to color for those many years, and when you get a really good color, you have a good time with it.
I think a lot of it was the idea of wanting to stay younger too. It's not
Yes.
you didn't want to let go of your youth. And I was in my 30s when it started. Well, I was in my late 20s when the gray started coming in, and I was in my early to mid 30s when I let it all go out. And I just remember thinking, well, Steve Martin was always silver. Steve Martin was always silver, and
And he's
look at him.
handsome.
And he's still pretty much the same color he always was. And
Right.
that was my
Yeah.
role model at the time. I think we have a lot more role models for men at this time. And I think men tend to have it a little bit easier because we're expected to go gray. And it's kind of like, yeah, he's going gray, or a little snow on the roof. There's the jokes that come around,
Right.
but once it's done and through, once you're through that process of the color going away, nobody mentions it anymore.
Yeah, yeah, and I think with women it's definitely connected to, will I look old?
Mhm.
I'm not young anymore, or all of those ridiculous thoughts. I've been told in many ways that I look younger than I did with
I
color.
have had the same thing.
So, which is even more unusual to me, that could happen, or that my hair doesn't actually look 50 shades of silver, it looks blonde,
Mhm.
right? We talked
You
about
have that one
as
tonight,
too.
yes.
So, uh,
It's interesting because it's unexpected, but yet when it's done, it's striking. And there's an empowerment that comes through as a result. It's more of embracing your true self. It's one less thing, one less shackle that you're putting there, one less wall that you're putting up between yourself and other people.
Yeah.
It's, yeah, I'm
Yes.
gray, big deal. This is what I can do now. And you're a great example of here, you let it grow out, you got it all cut out, and like you said, you've gone from being behind the camera to now you're in front of the camera.
yeah, very strange, a
it's-
very wonderful sort of new chapter that I didn't
Mhm.
expect. Yeah,
Is there a book in this, do you think?
you know, there could be. Let's see how the videos go, because I also video as well as taking pictures. I also took video. I don't know. Maybe there's a book on the whole site that is a conversation that talks about how this is, such a marvelous, wonderful thing. It really changed my identity in many ways, and positively. So I would like to see that happen to anyone that decides to just wear their natural coat.
Now, you said your mom, is she still coloring her hair? When the two of you are together.
Oh, it's so
It's-
bizarre. It's so, but it's only in my head that it's bizarre, because it's still funny to me.
Mhm.
It's only been really a year, I guess, and that it's been fully cut out, or 2 years, a year. Anyway, and yeah, I wonder how that's received. When we go out shopping or we're having coffee somewhere, or yeah.
They come up to you like, we want to know your plastic surgeon. If you two are the same age now.
Right.
Well, we should be wrapping up now. Tell us the website again.
The website is 50shadesofsilver.com, but it's not up yet. Give it until maybe August or July or August. But in the meantime, you can send information to me at info@danalichstrahl.com.
And what type of content are you looking for?
Stories, questions, anything that has to do with you not coloring anymore and just wanting to wear your natural coat, man or woman. I don't think it matters. Although I do think women, as we said, have more of a challenge with changing that story. So, we're just going to talk everybody through this together and put up some really dazzling shots of some very sexy, vibrant, older women, and just have fun with it.
Now, is the site just for women?
No,
Okay.
yeah,
So us guys can join in too.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
good.
yeah.
Let's go for some gray pride, right? We'll get a parade.
Parade.
Dana, again, the name of the website?
50shadesofsilver.com, and it's the numbers 50.
Great. Well, thank you for joining us. I'm
Thank
glad
you,
you were
Tom.
able to be our guest. And yes, we did wind up getting a show out of this, didn't we? Just out of a conversation. And if you know somebody out there that's thinking of going gray or silver, encourage them to do it. It's very empowering.
It is.
Go do it. If you've been thinking about doing it, do it. It'll be fun. Trust us.
And then send us a note
And you can
line.
submit your stories too to 50 Shades of Silver. I'm Tom Callahan. This is Only Seniors. Thank you for joining us.